Hi, Fred, and other people. Meet art. Meet art. Um, a friend and I went to well, two friends and I, three friends and I, yeah, three friends and I went to see the Contemporary Art Museum, a museum of Montreal. It's where we are. Um, and we saw some things that really interested us. Fascinating thing was went into a room, and this was like around the end of the exhibit for us. You could also enter through that way, but I think most people exited through it. But we entered. You enter this room, and you're used to seeing like some pieces where they have a screen and a video plays. It's trying to make some sort of statement that you either get or don't get, or it's visually impressive. Um, and and I mean, there was one video that we saw that was was total crap. Um, I could tell that the artist was trying to convey something, um, but I think this is what happens with a lot of contemporary art is that um, the artist gets so caught up in not conveying a message conventionally that sometimes these artists will leave that element unchecked, the element of how well am I putting this message across. Some people get so caught up in the kind of personal experience they have in making the artwork and don't don't make the artwork solid enough, a solid piece enough to stand on its own and to convey a message or the message that the artist wishes to convey. So sometimes you'll see these artworks and you're just like, I don't see it. It's like whatever. Um, so yeah, we saw a video clip like that. But at near the end of the art exhibit, there was probably the piece that impressed us the most. I walked into the room myself alone, and and saw a dark. It was a big dark room with a blue screen. I mean, I don't know, maybe probably resembling, I guess, that reflection of my television screen. Uh, in the back there in the mirror, something similar to that. A glowing blue screen that lit up the room in a kind of purple, bluish light, and I just stared on it, expecting something to play on the screen, and I realized that this is probably just a blue screen that's gonna play. I mean, originally I said, okay, it's probably gonna be one of these films, and I'm gonna watch this, but it was just a blue screen, and but then because I'm just absurdly inquisitive, um, I question I question like way too many things. I don't think it's way too many things. I think it's a good trait to question more than you need to. So just because you constantly learn more information that some other people don't usually pick up on. Sometimes it's important things, and I think it really paid off this time. I was looking for the projector in the room, trying to figure out how this was projected behind me because I didn't notice any light coming from behind me. Um, so it didn't look like it was projection. So I went up close and to look at the screen, and I was looking, and I was having this weird feeling of this glowingness. This kind of, it's like I was looking at it. I was in a trance. There's kind of like I kind of felt lightheaded staring right at the blue screen, and I realized why, because my head was so mixed up. I slowly put my hand up to the screen, and there was no screen there. It was really awesome. I went inside and realized that this screen, this thing that looked like a two-dimensional screen that had a bright blue light, was actually uh, like kind of like a section inside the wall, like a large room at the end of the room that it was kind of like a box room and had kind of these special like fluorescent lights, and I think there was like a little bit of mist so that it would make the corners of the wall very ambiguous. So even when you're straight up close, it actually looks like you're looking at a screen, but it's very dizzying because I guess your eyes are confused because of the depth. Um, and when my friends came, I told them touch the blue rectangle, and then they would confuse, and they like touch, and I would go like touch it like in a weird way, in a freaky way, and then they would go up, and they were totally freaked out by like putting their arms inside, and sometimes we would like impress people because other people would come in and they wouldn't even give it a second thought. They would stay there. So like there's no film playing. I guess it's just a blue screen. Oh, these people and their artsiness, their blue screens trying to make us think or something, whatever. And they would leave. Some people would like see that me and my friends are just sitting back on the wall just staring at the blue screen. So they're like, "Oh yeah, here's some deep people. They get it." So they sit down because they want to go along with us. And so there must be something artsy about this. And then they just watch it for 5 minutes and leave. Because they get bored. But sometimes when someone would come up, like one of my friends, or I encourage them, or one of my friends would just do something weird, like sit on top of the screen, sit on top of the recession in the wall, just so the people would go like whoa themselves and check out the wall. Um, Anyways, that was really impressive. I mean, um, and I could even think of ways that what the artist was trying to convey. I think obviously confusion is one of them. Um, but when you read the description box right outside, he's being very ambiguous about it. You can't really tell that there's any optical illusion at all from his description. Um, but it was very successful. I mean, for those that were inquisitive, one of my friends mentioned that like you should have like a camera in the room filming people's reactions to see like who actually figures it out, um, and um, and it probably is like I can guess that it could be this art piece could be like a big screw you to like the other artists there, or kind of like the prejudice, the kind of stereotypes that we have of contemporary like art museums. It looks like it's a dark room. It looks like a theater room. Like people are supposed to be watching something on a screen. People come in. They have this kind of expectation, that they're going to be watching this kind of piece, and then you know they're they even receive a lower expectation. They even, oh well, this is a blue screen, and they kind of like accept that it's a blue screen because they're like in people's minds that's what you see at contemporary art museums, uninteresting films or just blank screens with a single color on it because the artist is like, ooh yeah. But no, it was really fantastic exercise in optical illusion, um, with a kind of, I think, a comical element there. So that I say it's successful, and there are other things there that we and my friends like, or sometimes we were split. Sometimes there was art pieces that people respected more, and sometimes me and my friend would me and one of my art student colleagues would completely not respect an art piece. Like this is like this kind of thing is like what you see on YouTube. Like you don't see that. This shouldn't be in a museum. Like it's total crap. But I don't think never did any of us say that what was here wasn't art. We talked about how effective it was as art, how crappy it was as art, how visually engaging it was, how interesting it was, and we talked about its merits as art, not whether it was art, because clearly it was placed. First of all, being placed in a museum means the artist wanted to show it to people and wanted to convey something, whatever that thing was, and whether it was carried out successfully or not. But I do understand what you mean. I don't think things should be deemed art because that it's written in books that something is art. Um, I do think there's a definition for art that can be debated. Um, but I mean, if something's intended to be art, I think it is art. because that's like if you're doing something to convey something, I think that's art. Anyway, about this me thing. Sorry, I was like kind of off track there, but it was a very interesting piece. I mean, that I talked about this meat art. Um, Before talking about what I find wrong with that or what I don't find wrong with that, is what are these meat artists trying to convey? Um, I mean, you mentioned one of them. I'm not going to bother doing the research. I'm just very busy right now. I shouldn't even be making this video. That's how late it is, and that's how much work I have. But you mentioned that this one artist said that we have departed too much from this kind of old way of doing things, this kind of old tribal, sacrificial, orgiastic ceremony kind of practice. And this guy, I guess, regrets that or wants to bring it back. Um, maybe I could say that maybe it isn't art. Maybe it's just a show that he wants to put on, because it's a show that he thinks that has gone away. Or I guess it could be art, but I guess you're not interested in me talking about that. But as for its effectiveness as art, maybe it would be more effective as or maybe it can be better defined as a show. But regardless, I don't see what message, what kind of thing or thing he could be conveying other than a negative emotions, which is, I guess, would be counter to what he wanted it to be. Um, I don't find many people who wouldn't be turned off by crucifying animals in front of them as a show and cutting their guts open, or being even part of this practice. Um, like, best thing I could come up with is that, like, it would actually convey how far we've come, that we don't do things like this, and that we've left that in the past. And I could understand an artist for doing that, and I could respect that. I could greatly respect that for using this to show how derogatory it is. But I could never see this working as a show that is encouraging this kind of thing. I just can't, I can't mentally picture that. I can't register it in my mind. It just doesn't make sense to me, for what you've described to be a kind of encouraging return to the rituals of the past. Maybe the artist wishes to stir up, I guess, savage emotions within the human mind, stuff that we've kind of locked up and put away. And if that is true, I think I have to completely disrespect both that person's art and that person, because I think these kinds of emotions of, tearing open, the animal's rib cage and taking out the heart and eating it and covering yourself with its organs, I think it's just probably not the worst expression, the greatest expression of our inner savagery. I mean, we could be killing each other and doing the same thing to other human beings, but I do think it is a very, very outright expression of those emotions, and those things are things I think we've have very well accomplished at maintaining as things completely in the recession of ourselves. Probably not completely. I mean, I think we will bring it out in competitions, like in very toned down ways, or in video games that involve violence. I think we kind of entertain ourselves in making a little bit of a release of that. But this thing, I think it's not something that should be done. I think it's very unnecessary, and I think it's